Let's talk about serving hot breakfast just like 1950s housewives, but with some lazy mom hacks to make it easier. If you've ever stood at the stove flipping pancakes while your family is already at the table eating, you know exactly how unfair hot breakfasts can feel. You flip, you fry, you scramble, you serve, and by the time you finally sit down, the food is cold and so is your coffee. Meanwhile, the rest of the family's happy, full, and already moving on with their day. But here's the thing. Our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, they didn't skip hot breakfasts. In the 1950s, a warm meal in the morning wasn't just food, it was love. It was care. It was part of what made a house feel like home. Now, those women may not have had the shortcuts we have today, no crockpots, no air fryers, no pre-shredded cheese, but I promise you if they did, they would have used them. Because while culture was selling that happy housewife image, nobody really enjoyed being chained to the stove while everyone else was eating. So today we're keeping the spirit of the 1950s housewife, caring for your family, creating that sense of home, but we're doing it the lazy mom way. With sheet pans, crock pots, and little hacks that let you sit down, sip your coffee while it's still hot, and maybe even sneak in a few chores while breakfast cooks itself. So number one, let's start with sheet pan crepes. Crepes always feel so fancy, right? Sweet or savory, light but filling. But traditionally, they're also one of the most unfair breakfasts to make. One at a time, standing at the stove while everyone else eats without you. Instead, just bake the batter in a sheet pan. You'll get one big, thin crepe you can slice and serve all at once. You can fill it with strawberries and cream, ham and cheese, or spinach and ricotta, and suddenly the whole family's eating together and you're not stuck in the kitchen. Now, I've got the recipes, by the way, for this and for all of the recipes I'm sharing today on my blog. I put the link in the show notes for you. And a little side note from the 1950s. In the 1950s, crepes weren't on the average American breakfast table. That was more of a French cafe thing. But they did have their fancy versions of hot breakfast, like souffle pancakes or baked eggs and cream. Our sheet pan crepes are basically like the modern shortcut cousin of those dishes. So next step is very similar. It's sheet pan pancakes. These are all over Instagram right now, and for good reason. Instead of flipping pancakes one at a time, you bake a big batch all at once and slice it into squares, and breakfast is served. If you miss the crispy edges from the griddle, you can just preheat your sheet pan in the oven with a little butter and oil before you add the batter. Now, pancakes in the 1950s were a weekend staple, often made from scratch with flour, milk, and eggs, but convenience foods were sneaking in. Betty Crocker pancake mix hit the shelves in the 1940s, and housewives were both encouraged to cook from scratch and tempted by the miracle of boxed mixes. Real quick, everyone gets stuck in this mindset that if they just find the right checklist or routine, everything will magically fall into place, but they just end up feeling more overwhelmed and defeated when they can't stick to it. So instead of stressing over a long list of tasks, try this. Press play on one of my podcast cleaning routines. Whether it's the Domestic Darling morning routine featuring the 1950s Dragnet True Crime radio show or the evening routine, these audio-guided routines are designed to keep you focused and on track, and they guide you step by step in just 30 minutes. It's like having a cleaning coach in your ear, keeping you motivated and distraction-free. So be sure to click the link in the description for that. All right, next we have the overnight crockpot oatmeal. This one saved me back when my husband was working firefighter shifts. He'd leave at 6 in the morning, long before the baby and I were awake. I had the sweet idea of waking up to make him breakfast, but in reality, if I tried, the baby woke up too early and was cranky all day, and then I was cranky all day, just not a good mix. So instead, you can set up the crock pot the night before. In the morning, he could scoop out a hot bowl on his way to work. No fuss for me, no guilt, and he still had something warm and filling. My husband's not that much of a breakfast guy in general, so it was more of a special occasion thing. Now, oatmeal was a 1950s breakfast classic, often made on the stovetop while mom fried bacon or eggs, and Quaker was busy marketing quick oats as a way to save time. Proof that even then, homemakers were looking for shortcuts. The crockpot just takes that idea to the next level. Okay, our next one is eggs in a basket. You've probably seen these before. You just cut a hole in a slice of bread and fry an egg in the middle. And some people call them one-eyed monsters, but eggs in a basket just sounds a little prettier, doesn't it? We were definitely a family that called them one-eyed monsters. For a crowd, you can make them on a sheet pan, or for just a couple, the air fryer works perfectly, and you can add cheese, herbs, or even a little gravy on top when it's done, and it feels like a comfort food with almost no work. This dish was actually popularized in the mid-century era. It popped up in cookbooks and even movies as an economical, hearty breakfast. In a time when every egg and slice of bread counted, this was the kind of meal that stretched ingredients while still looking special. Next, we have sheet pan breakfast sandwiches. These are more of a prep ahead thing than one you'd make morning of, but they're lifesavers. You bake a tray of eggs, layer with sausage or ham and cheese, and then you build the sandwiches that you can freeze. In the morning, you just reheat them in the air fryer or the microwave. Now, here's a little fun, nostalgic side note. Fast food breakfast sandwiches didn't even exist in the 1950s. The Egg McMuffin wasn't invented until 1971. So in a way, our make-ahead freezer sandwiches combine the convenience of modern fast food with the homemade care of the 1950s kitchen. Finally, we have sheet pan omelets. I love omelets, but they're one of the most unfair breakfasts. One person stuck at the stove cooking each one to order. Instead, you can bake them in a sheet pan and everyone eats together. You can try combos like spinach and feta, peppers and sausage, or ham and Swiss. You can prep the fillings the night before or keep it simple with some frozen veggies or pre-chopped items. Now, in 1950s cookbooks, omelets were often taught as an entertaining dish, something you made for brunch with guests. Housewives were encouraged to perfect their omelet technique, almost as a badge of honor. I think they'd be jealous of our sheet pan hack, or maybe they would be mortified. Now, here's the other piece of the puzzle to being like a 1950s housewife with your hot breakfasts, and that's how you serve your breakfasts. Daryl V. Houle, in The Art of Homemaking, one of my favorite homemaking books from the 1950s to 60s, says to take pride in serving food attractively. The 1950s breakfast table was usually set the night before, placemats, napkins, sometimes even fresh flowers in a vase. Housewives were told to make breakfast a pleasant experience because it set the tone for the entire day. Now, I'm not saying you need to pull out the good china for Tuesday morning scrambled eggs, but little touches do go a long way. You can, if you're in a huge rush in the mornings, even use fast food style baskets with patterned parchment liners. And they're cute, they just fit right into there and they cut down on the paper plate waste. And they can make breakfast feel fun. You can use a wipeable tablecloth instead of a cloth one that you'd have to launder. And it still gives it that set the table feeling. Alright, so grab your sheet pan, pull out your crock pot, light a candle if you want, and then sit down with your family, drink your coffee while it's hot, eat together. That more than any recipe is the true spirit of being a homemaker. Now, before we wrap up, I want to answer a few questions you might be thinking after hearing all this, because I know as moms, we don't just want ideas, we want to know if they will really work in real life. Do these breakfasts actually save time? They don't always cut down on the total cooking time, but they do save you time at the stove. Most of the work is passive, meaning the oven, air fryer, or crock pot is doing the cooking while you sip coffee, fold laundry, or even just join your kids at the table. You're not tied to the frying pan, which makes mornings feel a lot calmer. Will my kids actually eat these? Yes, maybe. Kids love the novelty. Sheet pan pancakes with different flavors in each corner or breakfast sandwiches can feel like a treat. And you can customize fillings and toppings so even picky eaters find something they like. Do I need special tools for this? Not at all. A basic sheet pan, a crock pot, maybe an air fryer if you want, though none of the recipes required one. It's really that simple. These are just simple everyday tools that most kitchens already have. What if my mornings are super hectic? Well, that's when prep ahead breakfasts shine, like the sheet pan sandwiches in the freezer or the crock pot oatmeal. Does this mean I have to be a perfect 1950s housewife? Absolutely not. We are borrowing the best parts of that era, the care, the ritual, the beauty of a hot meal, and leaving behind the guilt and pressure. Lazy mom hacks let you have the nostalgia and the practicality, and you get to decide what fits your family. So yes, hot breakfasts really can be both beautiful and doable. They don't have to feel like punishment. And the truth is, those little rituals, sitting down together, serving something warm, making it look just a touch special, those are the moments that will stick with your family for years. Not the pancakes flipped perfectly golden, not the spotless tablecloth, Just the feeling of love, of being cared for, and of starting the day together. That's what it means to be a 1950s housewife, the lazy mom way, in my opinion. Now, if you're already thinking, okay, breakfast is handled, but what about the rest of my morning routine? Well, I've got you covered there too. I've created an audio guided cleaning routine that you can just press play on every morning. Think of it like a mix between those nostalgic 1950s radio shows and a modern day cleaning coach in your ear. In just 30 minutes, you'll move through your daily, weekly, and even monthly cleaning tasks in timed increments without decision fatigue and without getting sidetracked. It's like having someone gently guide you through what needs to be done, right down to what load of laundry goes in the washer and which settings to use, all while you sip your coffee and let breakfast bake in the oven. So while your sheet pan pancakes are rising or your crockpot oatmeal is bubbling away, you'll already be on your way to a tidy, peaceful home without the stress. You can find the link to grab your free routine episodes in the show notes, because the truth is, homemaking doesn't have to mean sacrificing yourself. It just means finding small, beautiful ways to care for your family and for you. We'll see you next time.